All right, so this is uh, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I decided to do the prequels. I just did the first one. That should be up, I guess, if you want to check that out. It came out in 2002, written and directed by George Lucas. Actually, I think there's another screenwriter on it too, but it's mostly written by George Lucas. It's not good, as most of these are not. I was actually surprised at how boring it is because I didn't remember it being just this boring. But let's get into it. So, it's been 10 years since the first movie. Um, Newt Gunray, which was like the leader of the Federation, the viceroy, somehow I guess there was no consequences. I guess with taking over Naboo like he did. I guess him along with other systems, solar systems in the Republic, have decided to separate from the Republic. And Count Dooku, played by Christopher Lee, he's a fallen Jedi. He's kind of heading things up on that side, and they have droids and like battle droids and stuff like that, and it's overwhelming the Jedi because for whatever reason the Republic doesn't have an army, so they're kind of debating that in the Senate about creating an army for the Republic to go against the Separatists. Padme, there's an attempt on her life early on, so they they have to give her more security. So Anakin and Obi-Wan become part of her security. Obi-Wan, once again, played by Ewan McGregor, and Anakin, this time played by Hayden Christensen, who's also bad in the role, but we'll talk about him later. Uh, there's another attempt on her life. The bounty hunter gets killed by another bounty hunter, who Obi-Wan then tracks to the planet of Kamino, where there's a clone army, but he doesn't really understand like how they became a thing because there was no like the Jedi, the Congress didn't approve the creation of an army. They're just now arguing of whether they should have one. Anakin is like madly in love with Padme at this point, and they have like one of the worst romances ever. And so they get sent to Naboo because he needs to protect her because there's still potential assassination on her life. So Obi-Wan like follows that bounty hunter Jango Fett after he sees all the clones uh, to Geonosis, where the droid factory is, and the Separatists, and so he's kind of investigating that. But then he gets captured. Anakin is having dreams about his mother, so they end up going back to Tatooine. So she's been killed by the Tusken Raiders, so he goes on like a genocidal rampage and kills even the women and the children and all that. And I guess that's supposed to lead into him going to the dark side. So they go to Geonosis to save Obi-Wan, and then they get captured. So then the Jedi and the clones later on end up coming to save them. They end up fighting Count Dooku. Anakin loses his arm, but now the clones are fully a thing. I didn't even talk about Jar Jar. Uh, it was the one that convinced the Senate or whatever to approve extra powers, emergency powers for Chancellor Palpatine so he could approve the creation of an army for the Republic. And I guess the other systems didn't think it was weird that there was already an army just ready to go, almost like same day, whatever. So now the Clone Wars has started, the Separatists versus the Republic and the clones, the clone army. And Anakin and Padme get married in secret, and that's it. We can go with positives first. The stuff at the end in the arena, it's kind of exciting. It's kind of fun. I mean, it's been boring as shit for most of the movie up to that point. So it's nice to see the Jedi's all come together and like fight and stuff like that. And I guess it's cool to see the clones, right? They're like the earlier version of the Stormtroopers. We'll get back to that. So that's kind of cool. The fight that Obi-Wan has with Jango Fett early on, the bounty hunter that's used to create the clones, that was a decent fight scene too. Jedi versus the bounty hunter. That was kind of cool. I like Ewan McGregor still as Obi-Wan. He's still pretty great. And Christopher Lee as Count Dooku. He was really good in the role. And I thought that character was probably one of the most interesting characters of this whole movie. And I didn't even remember that from my other times watching it because he's kind of like he kind of tells Obi-Wan like the whole thing. Sidious controlling the Republic and stuff like that. And it's kind of questionable where his loyalties truly lie, kind of because of that, which is kind of cool. Too bad the character doesn't really go to become anything else because he dies in the beginning of the next movie, but whatever. But that's all the positives I got. Like I said, this is a boring ass movie, man. They really doubled down on the politics, and the politics once again still don't make any sense. Padme was somehow elected queen of Naboo, but then she had a term limit. Like her term ran out, and so now she's not the queen anymore. She's just a senator. Okay, whatever you say. I guess that's how monarchy works, either just in this universe or just on Naboo. It doesn't make any sense. Like, there's been attempts on Padme's life, and first of all, they have to almost like persuade her to have more security after her decoy was killed just right before that. They send Anakin to be her security guard, even though there's clearly something going on between the two or whatever. There's some tension or something going on, and he's super creepy when it comes to her. But they send them. They have this forbidden love, but they go to like probably the most romantic location in all of Star Wars. I think they're even on like a gondola ride, like a space version of a gondola ride, I guess. And they send her to her home planet to hide away from assassination, which never made sense to me. I don't know how they would ever trust this clone army. Like, first of all, the clone army being linked to Boba Fett, that's just like a nostalgia thing. Oh, we remember Boba Fett, and that kid is terrible too. So his acting, the child acting is just bad throughout these movies. There's a Master Sifo-Dyas, and I thought that was Qui-Gon Jinn because like, oh, he died 10 years ago, and he's like, oh, that was my master or whatever. But apparently he was on the council, so that was somebody else. You never get to know who that person was, Master Sifo-Dyas, who was in charge of like making the clones or something like that, or proposed the clones to get made. But then Jango Fett, who was used to make the clones, said he was hired by a man named Tyrannus. Uh, Count Dooku is Darth Tyrannus. That's his other name. That's his Darth title. So automatically, you should not be trusting these clones. Like, they literally use the clones to attack the very place that the man that was used to create them fleed Obi-Wan to. Like, none of it makes any sense. There should be, all of this should be called into question. Palpatine is so obviously, behind everything. He's pulling puppet strings on everything. He's the one who suggested that Obi-Wan and Anakin be Padme's guards. He wants like in the first movie when he's like, maybe we need new leadership, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's a shock. They nominated me for chancellor, and then he's like, man, if only the other guy that's always with him with the horns is like, if only somebody could could propose emergency powers so we could have this clone army. And then cut to Jar Jar. That little fella gets telling them about giving them emergency powers, and they go with it automatically. In a democratic system, you're giving somebody emergency powers, and there's no debate about it. There's nothing about it. They just immediately do it.
Misa propose that the Senate give immediately emergency powers to the Supreme Chancellor.
Anakin is such a child that his idea of politics is like some of the most like simple, like kid, like he's a third grader or something.
We need a system where the politicians sit down and discuss the problem, agree what's in the best interest of all the people, and then do it.
Like politics have ever been that simple, but whatever. And then he kind of flirts with like there being a dictatorship and stuff like that. Somehow she's still into him. We might as well get to the romance in this. It's fucking awful. They have no chemistry whatsoever. And my idea of it is that George Lucas is kind of like overcompensating a little bit because they have such little chemistry that he has to write this really shitty, like almost Shakespearean dialogue.
Not being able to visit the places you like or do the things you like.
Or be with the people that I love.
The thought of not being with you, I can't breathe.
I think that's part of it because I truly deeply love you and I'm cursed. What do you say? I'm cursed by the kiss you should have never given me, or something like that. It's so bad.
My heart is beating, hoping that kiss will not become a scar. You are in my very soul, tormenting me.
It's never good. It's never good she's like, he's staring at her in a certain way. She's like, you're making me feel uncomfortable. The way they play it is like they already dated or something like that, and he knows he still likes her, and he's trying to like get her to like be with him. But last time they saw each other 10 years ago, he was a child. Like he was, I think, 8 years old or something, and she was older than him. It's real creepy, but regardless, their dialogue is just so bad. And Hayden Christensen, I've had arguments with people about his performance. He's so bad, and part of it is that he's legitimately a bad actor. I've seen him in other things, but it's also because his character is written to be a child, even though he's like 18, I think, in this movie. He's at least in his late teens. He acts like he's in his early teens. He acts like it's only been a couple years since the first movie. He's so petulant, and him and Obi-Wan are constantly like arguing, like strict father and like annoying, like, bratty child.
He's overly critical. He never listens. He doesn't understand. It's not fair. It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
It just doesn't work at all. And man, he is really trying. His problem is he just can't emote, and the dialogue's bad. He's trying. He really is trying, but he is failing hard on the romantic stuff and just him emoting at all in the movie.
They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
Yeah. Pretty much everybody in this movie, other than a select few, are pretty bland, just like the first movie. Nobody's allowed to really have a personality or have much emotion, like Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu and stuff like that. He's always got a personality in his movies, not here. Everything has to be so super serious, which adds to how boring it is. They really needed more action scenes to break the monotony, because it really does feel extremely slow, where it's just a slog to get through these dialogue scenes and this romance scenes that are so awful, and it doesn't work. George felt the need to, I guess, bring Jar Jar back, even though nobody liked him. He's there to just be a useful idiot for Palpatine. He's still just about as annoying as he was in the first movie. There was no real reason to bring him back. He steps in for Padme, so I would ask, what was he doing there before he does that, before she leaves? Regardless, it doesn't matter. There's a really big over-reliance on CG for this movie, and it looks really bad. I don't think, there's more practical stuff in the first movie. The CG does look better in this movie, but there's so much of it, and it still doesn't look good. There are multiple scenes where, there'll be a scene in Palpatine's office. Most of the people there are real, or, they're in like a costume or something, or makeup. And then you just have Jar Jar and Yoda, and they look completely out of place. You have scenes where you can take just one real person out of it, and everything you're looking at is fake. And it might as well be an animated movie, like the stuff with the clones, when Obi-Wan first goes to see the clones, that kind of stuff. I still don't understand really why the clones become the stormtroopers, because the stormtroopers in the original trilogy, I'm pretty sure they're not clones. I think that's been confirmed. The Jedi are just so pathetic in these movies. I guess I'll talk about that some more in the next movie, but man, it's crazy. Like, I feel like if I was in that room with them, with Palpatine, I would already be suspecting him. And they say that they don't trust politicians. They shouldn't trust him. I mean, there's no reason to trust him. And he's clearly just getting more and more power, and like he's clearly pulling the strings on everything. You think that they would question him, and then they say, I've always thought of Jedi as, well, from the original trilogy at least, they're supposed to be kind of like, almost like, diplomats or like cops or something like that. And then in this movie, he's like, we're peacekeepers, we're not soldiers. And then, like, I guess, cut to the end of the movie where they're where they're clearly on the battlefield. They might as well be just like the clones in that instance. I didn't really talk about the lightsaber duel with Count Dooku that much. I thought it was all right, but there's one thing that's always bothered me. Right before he gets cut, he kind of like puts his arms off to the side and just gets it cut. And it's like, wow, I guess that's the take you go with, because it doesn't feel natural that he just got his arm cut off. That might be it. It's, with the first movie, it was Jar Jar and the political stuff. With this movie, it's the romance and the political stuff, and that's like the main stuff with the movie. Oh man, I can't tell you how bad this romance is in the dialogue. But it is just, oof, it is so hard to get through. Like there's certain scenes of this where I was like, I cannot believe some people actually think this is good. Like I can't believe it at all. But yeah, it's mostly just like kind of a slog to get through, and it's mostly just kind of monotonous, and you're just kind of waiting for something interesting or an action scene to happen, and it takes a really long time to get to it. It's mainly the stuff at the end. All right, so I didn't end up giving it a rating, so I had to get back on camera. I'm gonna give it an utter trash. It's the same rating that I gave episode 1. You know, that one's more obnoxious, this one's more boring, but whatever. I still think this one's slightly better because it's less annoying. And that's it. Revenge of the Sith will be up soon, probably. And subscribe to the channel and all that. And we're done.